Hello and welcome to another edition of Start Select, the video game show from GameSpot UK. Don't thank us, you're welcome, people. I'm Guy Cocker, he's Mark Walton, and join us as we ride our jolly sleigh through the final stretch of 2010. Coming up on this week's show,
we put the finishing touches to our epic gaming PC and overclocked the bejeebers out of it before sending it out to our winner.
We meet DICE's Marcus Nielsen to see if Shift 2 Unleashed has what it takes to compete with Gran Turismo and Forza.
And Alex Assoon-Kobe will be heading to the Houses of Parliament to find out about the state of the government and the British games industry.
Also coming up on this week's show, we run down the week's hottest new releases, give away a stack of Blu-Rays, and Donkey Kong Country returns on the Wii. First up, time to look at some of this week's news. Remember, you can find out these stories in depth and more. Just head over to gamespot.com/news. Now, Mark, as the resident musician on the GameSpot UK crew, you've picked out more woes for Activision's Guitar Hero franchise.
Yes, so this is Axl Rose suing Activision over Guitar Hero 3. So what's happened is Axl Rose said, let's put some Guns N' Roses songs in there. They put Welcome to the Jungle in the game on the condition that it wouldn't feature Slash or any of the Velvet Revolver songs, which happen to feature Slash as well. And as we all know, Guitar Hero 3 ended up featuring Slash on the front cover of the box.
Yeah, in the advertising
campaign and everything. And they also released DLC, which featured Velvet Revolver.
Which is Slash's new band.
Which is Slash's, well, it was his new band. I don't know what he's doing now. It's like going band to band. But yeah, so he's suing for 20 million bucks.
Right.
Which I think is a bit crazy, frankly, because the song that's in the game, Welcome to the Jungle, which has Slash on it, who was in the band at the time. And I don't know how Axl Rose can deny that Slash ever existed, like ever.
And it's a guitar game and Axl Rose is a singer, so...
Yeah, no one likes Axl Rose either. Like, everyone loves Slash and Axl Rose is a douche. So, I don't get it.
I don't know if our lawyers are going to cut that bit out. So basically, Axl Rose has now released, what was it, last year? The kind of final Guns N' Roses album.
Chinese Democracy.
Yeah, which took 10 years.
10 years or something, hundreds of millions of dollars, and was pretty much terrible.
Okay. So I thought it was all right.
No,
I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
It was bad.
Okay, I've got UK chart news. Gran Turismo 5 has sped up to the top of the chart, knocking Call of Duty Black Ops off the top, finally, after a few weeks. The other big news is the fact that, unfortunately, Disney's Epic Mickey and Namco Bandai's Meijin and Splatterhouse all failed to make any appearance on the top 40 whatsoever, which is obviously disappointing news over at the House of Mouse.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was really looking forward to Epic Mickey. You know,
enough to buy it?
I think so, you know, Warren Spector, man, you know, the guy's a legend. But, you know, it's a tough week for all those games. They're up against Gran Turismo. They're not the same genre, admittedly. But, you know, if you've only got money for one game, you're going to buy the game that took 5 years, you know, you're waiting for 5 years, the biggest driving game ever.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's the biggest driving game of the year, maybe PlayStation 3's biggest game of the year as well. And like you say, people have been waiting for it for so long. Do you think that Epic Mickey is going to go on to have like one of the long tails, like a lot of Wii games? Is it dead in the water now?
It's a tough call. Like you say, you know, the Wii games, they do tend to have a long tail, and there is a chance that could still happen. However, you know, with looking at some of Sega's games that they've had, like I think the shooting one, House of the Dead and stuff, they're a little bit more hardcore, but they just bombed completely, didn't they? And so did Conduit and things like that.
Epic Mickey's got a dark take. It's quite, you know, it's a dark game, but it's aimed still at kids, I think. So, you know, we'll see how it does. It's a shame to see it do so poorly, but I'm sure heads will be rolling over at Disney right now. Remember, you can find out more about those stories, as well as many more. Just head over to gamespot.com/news.
The building of our epic gaming PC is nearly complete, but before we ship it out to one of you lucky winners, we thought we'd overclock the beast and see exactly what it can do. Hello folks, and welcome to the final edition of Greatest Gaming Rig. I'm Mark Walton, and joining me as ever is fellow PC professor Jane Douglas. It's been a wild ride these past few weeks, so many terrifying blue screens of death. There's blood, sweat and tears in this rig, but don't worry, we'll be cleaning all of that off before we ship it off to our lucky winner.
With the build complete and benchmarked, we decided to step it up a notch and overclock this beast. So, Mark, run us through what you've done.
So, what we've done is overclock this from a kind of, well, quite a fast 3.33 gigahertz.
Pathetic. 3.3 gigahertz.
Pathetic.
Okay.
To a very nice 4 gigahertz. So over here you can see that the processors are running at 4 gigahertz, 4000 and 0.18 megahertz. There you go. And what we've done to do that is just increase some of the voltages, which you can see here. And the interesting thing about it was it didn't actually need that much voltage to get it up to that speed, which is very, very cool.
And you said you can go higher, but 4 is the sort of maximum stable.
Absolutely. So, you know, we could go up to 4.3, 4.4 gigahertz, I think, on this cooling setup. But, you know, that's going to require more work than anything to get it up to that. And this took me a good 2 days to get this stable at 4 gigahertz and running without any crashes. And it's very, very nice as it is now.
All right. So tell us about the Windows Experience Index.
Yes. Well, everyone's seen this. It was part of Vista and is now part of Windows 7.
Has everyone seen it, though?
Well, okay, maybe not everyone. But if you've got a Windows 7 or Vista computer, you will have noticed that your PC scored out of 7.9 on certain things, and it gives you an overall score telling you how good Microsoft thinks your computer is. In this case, we've got 7.1. Now, that's because what Windows does is our graphics cards are enabled in SLI, and it doesn't give you as high a score when they're enabled in SLI. When I took SLI off, we got a 7.8 overall. 0.1. I don't know what you have to do to get the extra 0.1.
What do you want from us, Microsoft?
I know.
Okay.
Okay, so we've also overclocked the graphics cards. Now, the difference between overclocking the CPU and the graphics cards is the graphics cards isn't really a permanent overclock unless you have this program set to run on the computer like all the time. But what we have done is overclock them for the moment to 800 megahertz on the core clock and 1600 megahertz on the shader clock. Now, you could go a little bit further, but given that we're using the standard cooling and that when you turn the fans up on this, it sounds like a hurricane, that's about as much as we can get out of it for the moment. But it still runs plenty fast enough with that.
Fantastic.
It's really, really great.
Okay.
Cool. So we ran our benchmarks again with all this overclocking done, and we got some new scores for you. We're not going to run through all the benchmarks again, but we're going to hit you up with some numbers.
Okay.
So, Jane, what's the first
in
one?
Cinebench, we went from 16.51 to a stonking 19.62.
Which is ridiculously fast. That's a really amazing score for Cinebench. 3D Mark Vantage is another one we ran. Now, previously we hit around 59,000, and this time we've increased to 62,000 on the score.
And in Union's Heaven benchmark, remember that one? We hit 1301 from just over 1200.
And performance overall across games has improved by about 12%. So, I mean, about 12% extra frames per second on average, which is fantastic.
Benchmarks are all well and good, but really it's all about playing the games. And as you can see, we've been playing on 3 1080p 3D monitors, running games at that mind-blowing 5760 by 1080 resolution. And yeah, in 3D, using NVIDIA's 3D Vision Surround.
So Jane, now you played some of this. We tried some Battlefield Bad Company 2.
Yes.
What did you think of it in the 3D
I mean,
vision?
it looked really spectacular. I say that as someone who's a little bit skeptical about 3D generally. That, in addition to having this kind of panoramic 3-screen setup, is really, really special.
Yeah.
I don't see myself playing an entire game in 3D, just for, I don't know, I imagine it gets... I imagine the novelty wears off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But from time to time, if there's a particularly beautiful scene, I can see myself totally pulling out the 3D glasses, which in fact you have got.
I do have the 3D
and they're
glasses.
not they're all right with NVIDIA especially. They're nice and light and they're not bulky.
Not too bulky.
And like some of my less favourite 3D glasses.
Still not good, the glasses over glasses look, sadly, but there you go. So, I mean, do you think it actually enhanced the gameplay in any way using the 3D setup?
Well, I mean, not gameplay, because it wasn't designed around being a 3D game. It enhances the visuals, for sure. And yeah, nice to see that it didn't really seem to impact on frame rates too heavily, which is a problem in other cases. But like you say, Battlefield Bad Company 2 has been pretty well optimised for 3D.
Yeah, it's designed for NVIDIA's 3D Vision. It's one of the few games that is. One of the interesting things that I noticed from this, you know, is that the PC system tends to suffer, I notice anyway, from less flicker. I don't know about yourself, but did you notice anything like that?
I have seen a little flicker recently, not on this, but on other machines, and I can't say I noticed on this, so yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty good tech from NVIDIA, this, and you know, even when you're using the 3 monitors, like you're saying before, you know, there's the bezel stuff, you know, you don't notice it as much in 3D as you do.
Yeah, it kind of merges the 3 screens better than in the absence of 3D.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a nice side effect.
All right, well, you can find out more details on our overclocked benchmarks as well as a photo gallery of the PC itself over at tinyurl.com/GSUK PC Final.
And now to the main event, picking a winner of this awesome rig. Whoever wins will be taking home our custom-built PC, along with these 3 Acer monitors, a 3D vision kit, a Pro-Spec SteelSeries accessory bundle, as modelled by the lovely Mark Walton, Astro Gaming's top-of-the-range A40 headset and mix amp, as well as our Unconditional Sadness and Resentment.
Yes, indeed, we will be very sad to see this go. So the question we asked you was, how much do you think the rig would cost in total if you got all the parts at standard price? And as a tiebreaker, we asked you to tell us in 50 words or less why you thought you deserved it.
The answer to the question is a mammoth £8,023.41. That's almost enough for a deposit on a house or enough to buy a small car. And we love small cars.
We do love small cars. So we had quite a few entries at around £8,000-ish. But there was only one winner who came the closest out of everyone with an entry of £8,030. And, drumroll, the winner is...
That was Christopher Knight, who wrote, he's an 18-year-old student and quite a computer gaming enthusiast who's currently saving for 2 major reasons: university fees and a powerful gaming computer. He says, I come from a working class family and therefore can't afford a super powerful computer like this. In fact, it would most likely be the only chance I'll ever have to achieve something as great as this.
Exactly.
And who are we to deny him greatness,
exactly.
right? I think that's a little more than 50, but he was very close.
He was easily the
else.
closest with the number. So that was the main point of that.
Of
so
course.
if it come down to the wire, we would have taken that more into account. But hey, he came closest.
Very
so
close.
Well
right.
done, well done. So thanks to everyone that entered the competition and to everyone who checked out the videos over the past few weeks. We are really, really sad to see this machine go. In fact, I'll expect they'll be dragging me out of the building with myself sort of attached to it. But let's not dwell on that. Let's remember the good times that we had when we were using this computer. Till we meet again, spotters, happy gaming.
There's a brand new morning where the ocean meets the sky. A ray of hope for those who stop and wonder why. To each and every one darkness calls. From the great cloud or hard rain falls. I'll be waiting here to pull you through. When evening fades into the blackness of the night, you feel so lonely and you need a guiding light. When the cold wind bruises you, you pray to God he refuses you. I'll be waiting here to pull you through. I'll be rising to shine upon you. I am the sun, and I will be there to warm your heart. New morning, brand new start. For you I am the sun. I am the sun. To shine upon you. I am the sun. I will be there to warm your heart. New morning, brand new start. It's for you I am. It's for you I am. The sun.
EA may be dropping the Need for Speed moniker from Shift 2 Unleashed, but it's still coming from the people who brought you the 2009 original. We met up with the game's executive producer to find out more. Hey guys, you're joining me down here at EA's London Winter Showcase, and we're about to see Shift 2 Unleashed. I'm joined by Marcus Nielsen, who is the executive producer for the game. Tell us about how you're improving on Need for Speed Shift, the first one.
Shift 2 Unleashed is a big improvement from Shift 1. Getting a game out there to a lot of people and let them play it. We get so much data and we can incorporate that into the sequel. We're doing great things with Shift 2 Unleashed. We have a focus which we call the driver's battle, which goes straight through the game from being in there, driving these cars, battling the other people that you're playing multiplayer in, battling the people you play in career in, actually battling your friends through implementation of autolog, which I'm sure people are familiar now with Hot Pursuit. So other great improvements that we made is AI has get an overhaul. We're also making car physics and handling a lot more smooth and more accurate, I would say. Rendering, we have a brand new rendering engine for the game. In all aspects, I would say, we're making big improvements.
One of the things that you said during your presentation was that you're not bothered about 1,000 cars, right? It's all about the actual racing experience. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, coming from Battlefield games, as I do, coming into racing series, as you know, DICE has a legacy with racing games. A lot of people interested in racing games at DICE. I'm one of them. Coming into this franchise, looking at this genre is quite stale, and the innovation seems to be in numbers. 1,000 cars and just driving a Polo 1.4 and 1.6 is not cutting it for me. I want to move the genre forward, and we're doing that by putting the people behind the wheel, controlling that, and the new helmet cam, which you now played, is just moving the genre forward in a big way. How it kind of helps you look into the corner, how you take the corner, the immersive feeling of being there when you brake, when you accelerate. It's just putting you behind the wheel of almost a real feeling of being in a race car.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned autolog. Of course, it's being implemented in Hot Pursuit. How's it going to work in Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed, and is it going to build on that at all?
Absolutely. Autolog for me is almost like a philosophy, and is almost like the purest form of user-oriented content. You play the game, you render a time, that time goes out to all your friends, and we compete to beat that time. Once someone beats that, everyone goes after that time. So it's a really cunning way of letting people play the game, battling with their friends. As you remember, the driver's battle is the kind of the focus for the game, and it fits perfectly into that. Autolog in Hot Pursuit is an amazing implementation, and most people that will see this interview have played the demo and have experienced that. We're taking that one step further on, making that feeling a little bit more deeper, surfacing the data in a little bit different sense, but in a way that makes perfect sense.
You were pretty ballsy at the beginning of our demo, saying wanting to take on Forza and Gran Turismo. I mean, this marks a new direction for EA, in as much as they're splitting it out into simulation and arcade territory. What do you think you can bring to the sim market?
I think that we already brought a lot to the sim market with Shift 1, to be honest. Some of the feedback was that you're not really purely sim with the game last time, and I can admit that some of that feedback is right. However, though, with this game and with the physics engine that we're now using, you don't get any more sim than this. If you put this game on Elite handling model, you get a sim which is just more sim than anything else out there.
Are you in a position to talk about tracks, cars that are going to be in the game at this stage?
Not specifics, but we are doubling up on tracks. We're doubling up on cars. We will feature about 130 cars. The important thing for me is that every car has an identity. Every car makes sense. Every car for you is an aspiration you have to drive that car. Again, Polo, I can drive that on my spare time.
Let's talk about the collaboration, because sounds almost like Slightly Mad Studios and DICE are collaborating for this. What's the setup for it?
Slightly Mad Studios is a very talented studio, and a lot of, looking at Slightly Mad, there's a lot reminds me of early days at DICE. The passion, the working around the clock to get the best result out there. These guys are not stopping for anything but the highest quality. That is something that made Battlefield really come to life. So I can see that the DICE involvement in this is basically purely down to me and the senior vice president Patrick Sutherland. Patrick Sutherland being a huge inspiration into how it is actually to be in one of these fast cars, I'm overseeing this from the point of making this really accessible, fun, right way of autolog implementation. It's just a perfect marriage actually between SMS, the technical knowledge, and the more kind of DICE approach to games.
Yeah, we saw Patrick taking Jane around the track last week for Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, so believe he's a good driver.
Oh, yeah, he is he's actually, if you think about that, he's senior vice president for EA. He is a very good driver. He is seriously a very good driver, and actually, in the series, the GT3 series, he and his co-driver Edward Sandstrom won the last one GT3 in Europe. So that would vouch for that, I think.
A good person to have on board.
Say again?
A good person to have on board.
Oh, he can just benchmark what we're doing in the game. With the physics system we have, we can set up the cars to feel like it is to drive the cars that he's driving. And again, we can't get any more sim-like than that.
All right, Marcus, tell us when we can expect to see Need for Speed Shift 2 and on what platforms.
You can expect to see Shift 2 Unleashed on PS3, Xbox, and PC this coming spring 2011.
With a new coalition government at the helm, can we now finally expect the powers that be to wise up to the impact of the British games industry? Alex Sassoon-Coby went to Parliament to quiz the people in charge.
Hi, this is Alex Sassoon-Coby for GameSpot UK, and I've come down to the House of Parliament to talk to Tiger and the joint chairman of the all-party parliamentary group on video games about the future of the UK gaming industry.
12 months ago, we saw the first major sign that the UK games industry was being taken seriously on a parliamentary level when the all-party group for video games was formed. What has been accomplished by the group in the past year, and how has the view of the industry changed?
Well, I think the most fundamental achievement is we've persuaded citizens and Parliament that video games are a force for good, not a force for evil, as the industry was wrongfully portrayed for many years in the House of Commons as being very sort of a negative industry that had harmful effects on our children. Moral panic broke out some years ago when some of the sort of more sophisticated games were being published. I think we've dispelled that myth completely, and we've actually won a fundamental argument that Parliament has a duty to work with what is a maturing industry that will provide the high-skilled jobs of the future for the UK economy.
I think that the people we have on the all-party group, both in the last Parliament and in this Parliament, they're generally interested in the industry, which is great. Many of the MPs on the all-party group have a constituency interest in the video games sector, so they have a real genuine interest in the sector, in video games. It is easier to work with them, and it's easier to get our issues raised in Parliament. I don't think we should underestimate the achievement in getting MPs for 2 weeks running to raise at Prime Minister's Question Time the issue of games tax relief. There are trade associations and lobby groups out there who would die for that kind of coverage. So we're really pleased about the impact we're having. It's the campaign, actually, to raise the profile of the video games industry, the campaign for games tax relief. It's achieving real profile, it's having an impact. We haven't got our games tax relief yet, but we're in a marathon. This isn't a sprint, we're in a marathon. I'm very pleased with what we're managing to achieve with the help of MPs.
One of the biggest achievements and then letdowns of the year was the fact that a sector-specific tax break for game development made it into the outgoing Labour government's final budget, before being cruelly snatched away by the coalition as they came to power. How well was the case for tax breaks made, and what went wrong when the government changed?
I think the argument for games tax relief was frankly insurmountable. And if you look at the recent evidence that there's been a 10% drop in jobs in the UK games industry, and growth in the Canadian industry has gone up by a third in the same period, then there is something institutionally wrong with the partnership between government and industry. The industry made a very comprehensive case to a cynical Treasury a couple of years ago, and the Treasury mandarins could not find a chink in their argument. So I think they've won the case and they've won the argument, they've just not signed the deal.
What we've been trying to convince government and Treasury officials is that a lot of people who don't get a job in the games industry, or who have been working in a studio but then laid off, they don't just buzz off to another UK studio and carry on making video games. We have a lot of evidence now, some of it anecdotal, some survey evidence, to show that many developers, when they lose their jobs at, for example, Real-Time Worlds, don't stay in the UK, but they go and work for other jurisdictions. And we're going to have to continue making that evidence and that argument even more robust. I think it's already compelling, and we're going to try and demonstrate to the Treasury that that indeed is the case.
The challenge for the games industry is to make the case in the way the film industry did. In the case of the film industry, there was a very clear threat. There were very big companies saying to the Treasury, unless you maintain this tax relief, we are going to take big budget productions like Harry Potter and make them elsewhere. Now, we have to convince the Treasury that a similar danger exists here, that there are major players in the industry who are looking at other countries that are trying to tempt them through attractive tax incentives, and say to them that this would be very damaging to the UK economy.
I mean, one of the good things about games tax relief is that it's not just good for the video game sector, although of course it is. It will create more jobs in the sector, it will get more investment into our industry, but it is good for the wider economy. It will mean more investment into the UK, it will help to rebalance the economy. I'm not saying the video games industry is the solution to all our problems, but it does help to rebalance the UK economy away from financial services towards export-oriented, high-skills, creative sectors. So it's just the right industry to support.
But the other challenge is that obviously in the present climate, where the Treasury is seeking to save money, it is very difficult to persuade the Treasury to spend money, which is what a tax break represents. It's a loss of revenue to the Treasury. And so these are very difficult times in which to make that argument. But I think the case is strong, and we will continue to make it.
I remain absolutely confident that at some point in the future we will get a tax break that will help the video games industry. But we are campaigning on other things as well. We're campaigning to improve the R&D tax credits. We are campaigning on skills and on migration. So we're looking at a whole range of issues that will help our sector. But I would just remind everybody in the sector who takes any interest in these issues, 2 years ago we were nowhere. The issue wasn't on the agenda. We put it on the agenda, we changed government fiscal policy, we got it in the March budget. We had all four key political parties, Labour, SNP, Conservatives and Liberal Democrats, backing games tax relief during the election campaign. Okay, two parties dropped that view in the June budget, but as I said a few moments ago, there are still backbench MPs in the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrat Party who back games tax relief. And ministers change their policies and minds all the time, so we have got to be eternally optimistic.
Time for this week's new releases now, and if you like running around wearing nothing but a tie and eating bananas, and hey, who doesn't, you'll love Donkey Kong Country Returns, a 2D platformer that reunites Donkey Kong with his pal Diddy, the monkey, not the rapper, as they journey through the jungle in search of their favourite potassium-rich fruit. Our very own Tom McShea gave the game an 8.5, praising its fantastic level, sound and audio design, so check it out in stores this week.
Also out this week is Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii, which brings together some of Mario's classic games from the NES and SNES, and will probably sell a bazillion copies.
Definitely will. Next up is the Sly Collection, which brings together the classic Sly Cooper series, HDifies them, and then brings them to the PlayStation 3.
Next up is Buzz, the Ultimate Music Quiz, which is out on PSP. It's Buzz, but more ultimate.
And if that's all a little too much for you, then kick back and relax with Farming Simulator 2011, which features all new gameplay options such as livestock breeding, finally, and an improved career mode.
And of course, next week marks the launch of World of Warcraft Cataclysm. If you're heading down for the official London launch, be sure to say hi to Jane and Seb.
Alright, enough of our thoughts, time for you guys to vent your spleen now. Remember, you can get in touch with us in a variety of different ways, including Twitter, Facebook, and of course, good old email, all of which should now be appearing on your screen. This week though, we've culled the best comments from our Start Select page. Remember to get in touch with us, just head over to GameSpot.com/StartSelect.
Right, let's kick things off with Sanguis Malus, who says it's good to have a UK show to watch alongside all the US stuff on other sites.
Remember, you can check out our US stuff as well, though. Today on the Spot is very good. Sad PSP Addict says Hot Burnout is a great game, in reference to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. Put about 8 hours into it so far. Blood Drive is a great budget game, and I can't wait for Gran Turismo 5. Thanks, Jane and Guy, for a great show.
This one comes from X to the Z, and he says, I wasn't going to get enslaved because I absolutely hated Heavenly Sword. However, after playing the demo, I've changed my mind. Heavenly Sword is still one of the worst games I've ever played, but I'll get enslaved soon.
Hanafi controversially suggests that next week's competition should be Win a Date with Jane Douglas.
There's a few issues I see with that, maybe.
Maybe HR and legal related. I'll suggest it.
And Buffed says, Guy Cocker looks weird in this video. I'm certainly not suggesting anything, but just watch around 2 minutes 32 where he suddenly twitches forward. Crazy stuff.
Last time on the show, you may remember that we gave you the chance to win one of 3 copies of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood on the PlayStation 3, plus for one lucky winner, a copy of the Limited Codex Edition. All you had to do was answer this very, very simple question. Who is the voice actor that plays Desmond Miles in the game? The answer, of course, is voiceover artiste extraordinaire Nolan North, and our winners are Gavin Grant, Tom Ellefson, Ryan Tracy, and our lucky winner for that sweet, sweet Codex goodness is Ian Payton.
We also had a pack of Blu-rays to give away, including Resident Evil Afterlife, the Alien Anthology, Iron Man 2, Inception, Lost Season 6, and Robin Hood. All you had to do was tell us who is the publisher-developer behind the Resident Evil game series. The answer is Capcom, and the winner of the high-def Bundle of Joy is Stephen Farquharson.
Excellent, congratulations. This week we have 5 copies of Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii to give away. That's right, Wii owners, we love you too. All you have to do is answer this question. How many games in total has Donkey Kong appeared in? If you think you know the answer or can use the internet to research it, send it to competitions@gamespot.co.uk before December the 14th, and we'll draw the winners on the next episode of Start Select.
We also have another stack of Blu-rays to give away. To enter, just answer this question. Name the directors of the 4 Alien films included in the anthology. Again, get your answers to competitions@gamespot.co.uk before December 14th to enter.
And remember, you're running out of time to enter our colossal Blu-ray competition, which is on the site right now, in which you can win a 60-inch TV, surround sound system, and a year's supply of Blu-ray movies and munchies. So head over to the site to enter now. All right, people, thanks for checking out this episode of Start Select. We'll be bringing you one last episode of the show before Christmas with Mark and Jane. In the meantime, check out more Start Select goodness on your Xbox 360, as GameSpot UK content is now appearing regularly on the Inside Xbox channel.
And remember to follow GameSpot UK's Twitter feed over at twitter.com/GameSpotUK, and let us know what you think of the show by posting on our Facebook page at facebook.com/GameSpotUK. We love you all, we really do. Except Seb, he sucks. See you next time.